Okay, hi everybody, it's Charlie Morgan and welcome to another video for the channel. Today I'm joined by one of our awesome clients, Kewanee, who I think I'm pronouncing that
Yeah,
properly.
you did it
Okay,
good.
I've
Yeah.
worked on it. And Kewanee's been working with us for, it's been about what, 5 or 6 months, I think
It's
now.
been about 6 or 7 because I signed up in like May. So
May. Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, since May time earlier this year, it's now November, and we didn't really hear much from you since you signed up.
Yeah.
You came on board to the program, and I know we could see you were working through the modules and everything, but we didn't really have much contact. And then it wasn't until I sort of contacted you earlier this month to say how are things
Yeah, that's
going, and you were like they're doing well, and I wanted to sort of hop on Zoom with you quickly for everybody, just so we can discuss like how well you are doing and what you've been
yeah.
implementing. But before we do any of that, do you want to just take a quick second to introduce yourself and sort of explain who you are and a bit about what it is?
Okay, so my name is Kewanee and I run a marketing business focused with consulting for remodelers. So it's like in the construction niche. And I've been doing it for about probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, depending on what date I actually started. And I came in contact with you guys during like May. I think you sent me like probably like 6 follow-ups, and I was like, oh hey, let's see who this person is. And then like we got on the phone immediately, and we just hit it off from there.
That
So
was awesome. But can you hear me okay, by the way? Because I haven't got AirPods in. I'm just going through laptop audio. It doesn't sound like clunky or anything, does it? It sounds okay.
no, I hear you fine. Mhm.
Cool. So yeah, you joined us back in May. Do you want to sort of the obviously people are watching, they'll understand the sort of title I'm going to use for the video is how you've added 20 to 30k in new monthly revenue to your agency over the course of
Yeah.
like since we started working together. But before we talk about where you are now, having applied the program and seen those improvements, do you want to sort of explain what the situation was before you started working with us and talking
Okay.
about that?
Okay, so before I started working with Charlie, I was about 10,000 in just revenue. That wasn't actually profit.
Hmm.
And in hindsight, I could see my main problem was that first I wasn't consistent and I didn't have like a straightforward way of structuring my agency. Like I was kind of all over the place. And so that's like I was doing, 10,000 in revenue, but my profit margins were, I was like, why am I using all these different softwares and stuff like that? I was like all over the place. It was ridiculous. And so, yeah. And then I came into the program and like actually saw how you like structure an agency and how you do outreach. And like,
Because
first of all,
what
my profit margins have increased. I was like, why was I paying for like 7 different softwares for no reason at all? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Because I remember when I first spoke to you, you hadn't been through any previous programs or
Yeah.
like mentorship programs. Because a lot of people get into the agency space and they buy a course, but you hadn't had any training before, had
Yeah.
you?
So pretty much like how I did you, and because I'd never been really in a course, I only come in or like message when I need something that I can't seem to logically overcome myself. So I got in and I was just like watching all of your videos and seeing how you do it, but I wasn't asking any questions in the group. I was just kind of like, if I had a question, I would go back and rewatch the videos to see if you
Yeah.
answered it there, which is why I
Mhm.
didn't have much. But then I was like, okay, maybe I should actually go in the group just to get like the atmosphere of it. Because I know a lot of people say like, hey, just being around other people who
Mm.
do the same thing as you can kind of motivate you to do more. I'm
Mm.
working on that. I'm still a hermit. So like
Well, I think it's good, and that's why a lot of our other clients are in a similar situation where we don't get many questions, and for us, no news is good news, right? We sort of knew you were probably doing quite well because if you weren't, you'd let us know. But obviously, as you're aware, the videos are quite long, and
yeah.
some of them are very. So we've got 2-3 hour videos on
Yeah.
everything, and so like quite often, more often than not, people don't need to ask questions because we're quite thorough with that, which is something that might be quite useful. So you started applying one of our outreach systems, the Loom system that we teach, pretty much straight away. And
Yeah, pretty much
you
straight
want to
away.
sort of just
And like as soon as I started, that was actually my biggest month when I first implemented the $30,000 month I had. That was actually the month I implemented the Loom. And it's because I was like sending out emails myself. I wasn't consistent and I was sending out a lower volume. And
mm,
so then when I implemented, your loom system of being able to kind of step away and put VAs at the same place, it's like it blew up of,
because how were you getting clients before?
So before is like I was saying, is I actually, like, my dad, I have brothers and things that are in the construction industry. So I was literally I was telling them, hey, like, I work with marketers and, in construction, they would like send me somebody. And so it wasn't as consistent. Like I was still sending emails, but I wasn't really getting any responses. All my sales was from like, getting my dad or somebody to get me somebody. Like it was word of mouth really. So yeah, that's pretty much.
So you basically went from sort of like, you were doing 10K a month to begin with, but it was quite chaotic. Your profit margins, low, as you mentioned. And so you went from 10K with no structure and just chaos to what, like 30 or 40K a month?
It was like a 30K a month for the first month, and then like I can consistently do around 20 to 25,000, and I'm just kind of trying to nail in who my ideal client is, and I'm trying to work through that. So then there's some like real stuff in the course that, like, when I heard it, it really changed my whole perspective of a lot of things too. When I, like, you said something in the course about well, you did a metaphor. You do a lot of metaphors. But you're like,
I'm very guilty. Like we get this a lot, where like one of the easiest ways for us to explain complex like things is just to put it into a metaphor. But go ahead.
You said it was the reason why we have our agency, our business, is to help businesses. And you explain it in a metaphor of when you're meditating, you hear birds, but you started focusing more on that than just meditating and getting the benefit of it. And it's sad to say, I realized that when I started this agency was because like you can make money with this. And I wasn't focusing or dialing into what's actually going to help businesses. Like, what can I actually do to help them? And like realizing that is kind of changing, what am I talking about? Like when I send emails, when I'm sending looms, it's like, how am I actually helping them, and how do I convey that message? And you really go into that in the course of like, like, because strategies are good, but if I don't have the right, like, morals or mindset of why I'm doing this, it kind of seems like, pointless.
Yeah. And just to touch on what you said there, just so everybody sort of understands. So one of the main sort of things that we teach in the program, because obviously, as you're probably aware of the program, we have like a lot of stuff is strategic, but we also have a lot of sort of perspective-based mindset stuff. And it's usually just by looking at it in a different way that everything falls into place. But what you were talking about there, for everybody's sake, is I've got this meditation headband called Muse, and you can sort of meditate with it, and you have your headphones in. And when you meditate nice and clearly and focus on your breath, the headband and the headphones start playing you these little birds. You can hear these birds. And what I started to do mistakenly was I'd meditate so I could hear those birds, because I knew that it was a good form of feedback. But as soon as you focus on the birds, you're losing the breath, which means you're losing the byproduct you actually want to achieve. And so you focus on the thing that produces the thing you want, which in this case is just adding value to businesses. So I'm glad that proved valuable. And so we've got probably like 4 or 5 other organic strategies in the program. Have you tried experimenting with those at all? Or
that is actually what looking at now to try to get it more consistent and scale it, is because construction is kind of like a traditional industry. It doesn't really change as much as it has in the last year. So like it seems like cold calling, because they pick up their phone. Like I do voicemail drops, like you recommend it, and those do work really well. So I'm like, maybe I do need to just pick up, but like cold calling like is different from sending an email. So I kind of got to get over this.
You can check out, because we've got a section on
I saw that. Yeah. I'm like starting to go through that, and like I need to just face it, and like, because I'm making it bigger than what it is. I know that. So I'm like, just get on the phone and like actually start talking to them about it. So so I can have really like 2 points.
It's really easy to be scared. And then you start making phone calls, because the script we have for cold calling makes it so easy. I don't know how far you've got through the cold calling module yet, but the sort of opening line we use tends to diffuse any sort of fear or tension you might have, which usually makes it 10 times easier. And so when you look over the since we started in May, over the last 6 to 7 months, for example, what would you say is like one or two of the most important things that you've learned from the program, aside from the focusing on the thing that matters? Like, what would you say we've taught you that's really helped you get to that 10 to 30K a month?
So more be obviously consistency, but also I feel like once I started making money, I didn't look at how to scale or take a step back myself. Like I was still sending all the things and emails myself, and it was like I'm only one person. I can only do so much
Yeah.
in the day. And no matter what I say, like I know how to send emails and stuff like that, but I'm not the best. Like there are VAs out there that can send like 100 in like, in a short time span. It's like I know there's people better than me. So why am I like focusing on trying to do everything myself?
Mm-hmm.
And like once I like took a step back and was able to look at my business, it's like I'm doing what is it, like 20, around like 18 to 20,000 in profit now. Like that's not just revenue. And it's like
Nice.
I was doing just 10,000 in revenue. Like so it's like that's like a totally different ball game. And so I'm like trying to
manage it.
Essentially, like you say in your we talked about it even last time, you said there's multiple steps in the agency. Like if I can literally show you my screen, I literally have the steps you put. You're like unique offer, outreach, then you do you do positive responses, interactions, booking, and then it's scale. And it's like I'm working myself up that ladder of like fixing those rings in my agency.
If you want to share your screen quickly, I can sort
I can, like it's like let's see.
Because this is important. Everybody needs to know this. I think I'll probably make a separate YouTube video on it, but we talk about
if you can see my screen, literally,
this is
it's like agency path. I literally just have that, like that's my background because you start here and this is what I need to do to build up and to just
this is really
agency.
Important. Obviously, it's a bit neater than when I did it on our coaching course. But for people watching, the way we sort of try to look at growing an agency is to imagine that you're trying to climb a ladder. And the way to sort of look at building an agency is you start at rung number one, which is coming up with an offer and picking your niche and making all these decisions that they sort of set the tone and the initial conditions for the agency. And people try and think about scaling an agency before they even have a damn niche picked or an offer defined. Or they go and build onboarding systems before they've even got positive replies to onboard clients. It's a very big mistake people make. Is like, oh yeah, I've got this. I just spent the last 2 weeks building an onboarding funnel. And it's like, okay, how many people have you onboarded? None. Why not? Because I haven't got any clients, but I wanted to have an onboarding system. But it's really backwards. And there's a lot of pain associated with outreach and sales. And so we have this tendency to go higher up the ladder first and think, oh yeah, well, I'll come up with all my SOPs and my onboarding. But the only time you need an onboarding funnel is when you have so many clients that you need to onboard them efficiently. And so this is really important. And I'm glad that you've made it a little.
It really stuck with me when you said it last time.
Is that your background?
Yeah, that's literally my background. As when I say like, that's literally just my desktop background. Like I look at it, this is like every time I come to work, this is what I see. And that's just what
it's such a simple concept though, isn't it? It just makes it so much easier to understand. And so, we all look at agency and think, okay, we need to do this, we need to have this, and then we need to also think about this. But really it is just like, which rung of that ladder am I on? Do I have positive replies? Okay, yes. Are they booking? Yes. Am I getting sales? No. Okay, so I need a sales process.
Yeah, and
before
it's
I think about delivering. Yeah,
fixing problems as they come instead. And that's pretty much it's like for me, getting essentially the overall thing of meeting you is like I took a step back and realized that I need to first be consistent, and the only way I can be consistent is if I took a step back and got VAs, if I did the outreach methods that you said and you teach that are like very simple and straightforward. And then instead of trying to like get it on board and do all this, focus on the next step is getting responses, getting books, getting bookings, getting sales, and then fix it as it comes. And you like simplified it very easily. And that's really what's like helping me actually see, because you can look at your agency and be like, hey, there's like 10 different things I need to do. But then if I look at this ladder and say, well, what is actually gonna make my agency, grow,
like
what I actually need to do right now. And so
the next run.
That's kind of what I do.
The other thing I wanted to touch on here, and I don't want to keep you for too long because I know you're probably busy, but your sales conversion rate is very good as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I don't know if you've been through the sales module in the program, if you've been using that at all or not, but be interested to know if you've got any advice.
So I watched most of the sales but I noticed that we're kind of like on the same. I guess I just got lucky and like that I work in the industry, so I kind of know what to say. But it was just I knew that I needed to ask them questions.
Yeah.
I needed to know why they were doing what they were doing, and I needed to make them realize that I could get them where they were going. And that's like kind of like the three things.
Yeah.
And obviously the way you said, I was kind of, when I was doing it, I was kind of like trying to do, oh, I have all these features, I can do this and that. And then when I watched yours, I realized I don't actually need to say any of that. I don't need to,
exactly.
like if what I'm offering has enough value and I'm actually targeting the right people, by the time we get on the call and we're already, you know, I've asked some questions, it's like I've already got them in that state to where they're ready to go and they're doing it. So
That's
and it's like
outreach methods as well.
yeah, you talk about it. It's like when you do the emotional questions, there might sometimes be people who are like, you know, why am I? And it's like you're like, then those aren't your people, those aren't your clients. And I was like, because at first I was like, should I say the emotional stuff because they don't want to? And it's like older guys and they're like, you know, or 40, 50s. I'm like, well, I'm asking you like, oh, is this going to help your family? And they're like, but I noticed the ones who actually answer the questions, they're like the best clients I have. So I just kind of stick with it. And
I think a lot of people struggle with the sales part, like where they know they need to ask these questions that stir up emotions in the prospect, but they themselves would be afraid to answer them, and so they project that onto the prospect. But when, like, if I'm talking to a prospect and I'm like, look, how would this have an impact on your life? If they're like, why would you ask me that? I'm like, well, because I'm far more driven by the impact I have on your life than how much money I can make from you. And if I understand what sort of influence my product is going to have on your entire existence and how much responsibility we can take, I'll be far more motivated to help you. And this is what will keep me motivated to continue to help you instead of after you've paid us. So it's really important. And so where do you see the agency going next?
So currently what I'm doing is because I think I told you, it's like there's been a lot of changes, more changes in the construction industry than there typically is in the last 20-30 years because of current times and stuff like that. So I'm trying to essentially what I've been doing is making sure that I'm still helping and I'm still speaking to my clients in a way. So literally I literally sent out like a survey to most of my clients asking like, hey, what do you think is the main thing that made you get on a call? What do you actually feel like you need help with? Like when I start speaking to you, what's the thing on your mind that you know you want to talk to me about? And kind of getting feedback from them on it. So I'm not like, I don't want to just be like, hey, I'm doing this one thing and then none of my industry needs that anymore for it. So I'm focusing on that and focusing on just making sure that I think we were talking about it, getting, not getting scared of like, oh, I'm getting a lot more not interested. It's like, yeah, but I'm getting a lot more people looking at my stuff and looking and viewing, and more people are interested. I just need to make sure that I'm not changing my script every other day. And like, remember we were talking about, because I would see that and then I would be like, oh, maybe they don't want that anymore, and I would change it. So instead of doing that and thinking I know what's best, I need to literally just ask my industry and like, hey, what do you want? What are you currently going through? And so that's what I'm doing. Like before I change anything, I'm not touching because it's working, obviously, but I'm gonna ask them myself and then go from there on like making sure that, I stay consistent and I speak to them the way they want to. I guess.
I think the main lesson here for everyone watching is you've stuck to one niche and one outreach method and one process for 6 months.
Yeah. And it's like, what is it? This year I'm making like over 180,000 annually. That's like my gross of it. And that like, that's just me starting in May. So like imagine like next year. That's like imagine next year when I'm like
to go from 10K a month with, like as you said, shitty margins to 30K a month where you're making 20-25K in profit. That's insane. And I couldn't be happier for you. I'm really excited to see where you go next as well. We'll probably not hear from you for like a year. And then, surely I made like 150 grand last month or something.
Yeah, just like.
But I think for you next, it's going to be about hiring a team and maybe building another outreach system to keep some consistency in place. But yeah, I really appreciate your time here. And for everybody watching, if you're interested in learning about what we do and how we could help you guys do what Kewanee's done here, there'll be a link below where you can check it out. Kewanee, if you could say to someone who was thinking of joining the program, but they had a reservation, like, oh, I'm not sure if it worked, what would you say to them?
I say, I mean, your guarantee is pretty good and you're very honest about it. And I say, try it out, because within the first month, I had already made back what you were charging. Like within the first
you definitely
month.
made, like, what is that? It's like a 20x ROI at this point.
Yeah. It's like, so it's like, if you're doing such a good guarantee and you're trying to help people, and as soon as they start actually implementing any, because there are multiple outreach methods. A lot of people may start with just the loom, but you teach cold calling, you teach messaging on social media, you teach, there's a lot of different, because not everyone wants to like cold email. Maybe we focus a lot on looms, but like you do Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's like you do everything. So it's like, if there's one outreach method that you know works for your industry and you think you're doing it the best, I bet you if you get in this program, Charlie has a better method of doing it that's faster and like gets you more consistent results. So it's like literally just hop on a call and you'll like, he literally shows you like in the sales, like his sales pitch is like,
I'm getting you to do all the hard work for me, but you guys heard the woman. There'll be a link below where you can check out what we do and some testimonials. But yeah, Kewanee, it's been amazing. I really appreciate your time here, and I'm looking forward to seeing when you go next. So we'll call it a day. Take care. Nice one.